Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Heroes Assemble, How to Hire Chat Heroes. Today I'm joined by Johnny Everett from the Chat Shop. Hi Johnny.
Hey Marshall, how are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
Good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, great to see you everyone in here. We'll just also wait 2 or 3 minutes for everyone to join in. Now before we do start, please remember that I will send out the recording right after the webinar, not 24 hours or so. So if you have some people in your company who wanted to attend but are not able to be here, just make sure to send them the link. Also, if there are any questions you'd like to ask during the webinar, you can use the GoToWebinar panel. I will be answering them as we go, probably, but there's a Q&A session at the end of the webinar when we'll be able to answer all of your questions. So just try to keep in mind that all the questions, even if we do not answer them during the webinar, will be answered at the end of the webinar. Plus, if there's anything wrong with the screen or audio, please let us know. We'll try to fix it as soon as possible. All right, so let's just stay here for a moment and introduce ourselves. My name is Martin. I'm support here at LiveChat and also doing the webinars for our company. Johnny, perhaps you can say something about yourself.
Sure, I'll give it a go. Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm director and co-founder at a company called Chat Shop. So we are LiveChat experts running consultancy and UK managed services. So we actually do manage LiveChat in the UK and US, and we also help companies to make the most of LiveChat. So yeah, that's pretty much us in a nutshell.
Yeah, so today's webinar is the first part of a 3-part series of Heroes Assemble. This webinar series is meant to help you people manage your companies, and we're just going to share some nice tricks on how to go about recruiting, onboarding, and managing your chat team so you get the best results out of our software and out of your agents during using the chat. Okay, so let's skip to today's agenda. We'll be covering 4 major points we thought that are really useful and relevant to this topic. So first we're gonna go through where you can find heroes, so where you can find people to hire for your company. There are really many options. Perhaps some are better for your company, some are less effective. We just really need to determine what is the best course of action for you. Now the second thing, who to recruit. So what skills, what character traits you should take into consideration to get the best people to your chat team, because you don't really want someone who would not be engaged in this. So how to get the best ones, the real heroes. Now number 3, the interview process. We're just gonna share some tips on how this works at the Chat Shop and LiveChat, and some general tips on how you can go about this in your company. And number 4, pitfalls and traps to avoid. So what are the ideas that can get you nowhere even though they look nice? And as always, after the webinar, we're going to go to Q&A session. If there are any questions you'd like answers, just ping us. Okay, so the first one, where you can find heroes. Now, there are a couple of things you need to think about. So, Johnny, why don't we go through the points in here?
Sure. So I guess heroes are in a number of places. And part of the way you can decide where you're going to find them is by asking yourself some questions first. So at the Chat Shop, for example, we operate a co-located model, which essentially means that we have a centralized management infrastructure, and then the rest of our team are actually working from home. It's quite a popular model in some tech companies as well, and obviously with modern day communication, it's something that is achievable, whereas obviously in the past perhaps wasn't. So there are some benefits to co-located working. Potentially though, you have office space, or you want people where you can see them, touch them, and do these kinds of things, and obviously there maybe an office situation is better for you, or if you're in a very heavily regulated industry potentially, then obviously office has some benefits in terms of data protection. These are kind of other things that you may need to comply with as part of some wider regulation. The other option as well, which can be quite useful, especially if you're looking at extended service, so maybe you want to run your team 24 hours a day, but your office is only open till say 5:30, you don't want some poor guy or girl sat there on their own at like 10 o'clock in the evening in the office. So sometimes it can actually be nice to have a blended approach. So in the daytime, you use an office team, and then in the evening maybe use a co-located team. once you've thought about that, there's kind of another question which I think a lot of people skip past, and that question is, do you guys want to do it, or do you want to outsource it, or do you want to have a bit of both? Obviously, we're a managed service, so we help companies who either don't want to do it or want to do it better than perhaps they were able to do, or perhaps want some external expertise or want to achieve specific objectives. Equally, there's other companies who have existing resource or are looking to grow a team potentially that's in-house already, or that's highly super specialist, and you feel maybe it's too difficult to outsource or for some other reason. I know the guys at LiveChat, you guys are in-house, right? All in Wrocław?
Yeah, we are on Wrocław in Poland, so everybody's in here, and we work 24/7, so we cover absolutely the whole year with no breaks of whatsoever in the meanwhile. And regarding the thing you said about the night shift and poor people sitting, in the evening in the office, it can actually be quite a bit of fun. I mean, I'm doing night shift myself, as some of you guys definitely chatted with me before, and it's not so, bad as it sounds, because you can also manage your company culture about it, but not everybody will of course want to work night shifts because there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
So it's not really so devilish, but yeah, it can be an issue you need to take into consideration.
Yeah. Are you normally on your own, Martian, or is there normally a bunch of you doing night shifts?
No, there's a couple of us during the night shifts, so we're never alone most for the time. So you have someone to talk to, so there's no problem about that.
Yeah.
Plus, we have really many customers from all around the world, so you're never alone. There's always something going on, and that's really cool.
Cool.
All right, so let's get to the next point. So in-house.
Awesome. So yeah, if you are looking in-house, so looking to resource it yourselves, then there's a few ways that you can obviously source Hero. So obviously number one is job boards, good old job boards, still sticking around. There are also kind of sub-job boards, so maybe like work from home job boards or contact center work job boards, so more specialist ones, but you also have obviously the big guys who have lots of candidates and CVs, which was a good starting place. Your website is obviously another really important place, having a job section, having a career section. We're going to show you some of ours in a second. So it's important that you've got something set up which makes you an attractive organisation to work at, as with any job, LiveChat being no different. The other one is obviously referrals. So if people know people, I know this is a big one for you, Martian, and your team, but also there's also reskilling. So some organisations, what you see is that you're taking people maybe from the phone and reskilling them and moving them to be the start of or to join a chat team. So having these different contact channel points, chat, phone, etc., actually gives you some flexibility, and also the employees might, they might not want to do the phone anymore, or they might not be very good at doing the phone, but they might really enjoy and be good at chat. So there's a number of options internally that you can look at as well, and obviously universities and colleges, so graduates, grad schemes, etc., you could run customer support or customer sales graduate programs focused on kind of newer technology, i.e. chats and email and so forth.
Yeah, two things I wanted to add on top of what you said, Johnny. The first thing with the job boards, there's also one thing we need to mention, that you can also use so-called headhunters, right? So people who will look actively for the people you want to be looking for. But if you want to use a headhunter to get the people to your company, make sure that the headhunter also knows the specificity, right? So that the chat job is really specific, and it's not a regular job that everybody can do. Even though it may sound like just really simple thing, sitting, chatting, and all easy. Yeah. Also, with this reskilling you mentioned, it's also funny because it works two ways around. First is that you can reskill people to chat, but in the end you can also do the other way around, because if you have people chatting about one single product or company things and whatnot on the chat, sooner or later they will become experts in this. I mean real experts, because they will remember all the questions, all the things, just like that, and those experts can be later put to a good use. So it's also a nice thing to consider, that when you want to have agents for your company, either hired ones or on in-house on your end, is that the longer they work with you, the better they get, and sooner or later you get a team of nice experts. And yes, we at LiveChat, we use internal referrals, I think, for the most part, because we try to keep the team of all of us here in Wrocław. And the traits that you need to go with is that you need to be a nice person. We're going to spend some time together in the office, and it's really a big thing. Right? Right, but I think we're going to talk about it later during the interview process, so not to spoil anything yet. All right, this is the website of the chat shop.
So, yes, I mean, this is one of our job pages, and we just thought that we'd show you this, maybe give you guys some inspiration perhaps. I mean, one of the key things I think that's often overlooked is chat really is just a way of connecting to your people, right? So as well as some base skills, we as a business put a huge emphasis on people, because it's people talking about people, people having conversations, human-to-human interaction just through a different medium. So for us, we're a people business fundamentally. So we try and put people at the fore, as you can see in the header and the footer, use a lot of photography. And then we like to obviously make our vision statement, so a big team, close-knit team, big ambitions and so forth. And then on the right-hand side, we just outline all the core skills required. What we've actually done is, you can see in the middle section, the grey panel with the 3 pictures, there are actually 3 different blog posts. They've been written by our team. Maybe they were chat agents, maybe they were team leaders, but it actually talks about their experience of the interview process, their experience of being trained by us, their experience of progressing in the business. And we find this quite nice because obviously there's a certain distrust from potential candidates as to whether you are nice and fluffy on the inside, because everyone says they're nice and fluffy at the start. So we try and share these things from the horse's mouth, so they can get better insight, and they can also maybe feel a bit reassured that it's not all lies and they're going to come into the dragon's den, as it were, and the people do enjoy themselves and have a great time. So I think using your team as part of the recruitment process, using people's experiences as part of that is something that maybe you guys can think about for your own team as well.
All right, and that for the second part of your website?
Yeah, so this is actually the pre-page. So what we try and do is obviously just promote different roles here. Funnily enough, Martian, you mentioned about headhunters. It's one of the things we do in terms of building teams from scratch, so dedicated teams we call them. And again, yeah, you do have to have the skill set of chat. We'll come on to a bit more about where the pitfalls are in terms of hiring for chat later, but I think this page is really just about the promotional material and obviously other vacancies as well if you're not looking for chat heroes or other things. Showing that you've got a dynamic business that's hiring in different areas is also helpful, because sometimes chat agents will want to join as a chat agent, but we have in our business, I'm sure you guys do too, Martian, people who started as an agent and maybe come into our account management program, or started as an agent and maybe come into our hiring team later on. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the growth paths that we use as well, is actually a sidestep from chat agent into maybe a different role that, as Martian, you said, they maybe have built some expertise in, or something like that. So we can also help them keep things fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an example of it myself, because I've been working solely on the chats before. Now I'm also in the webinars thing, so I'm a living example that you can also, upgrade your agents to do something else as well. All right, so yeah, let me show our website that we recruit on, and we have also a similar approach to what you said, Johnny, to the chat shop, is that we show people on this, and on top of the page, I think you can see it, is teamwork, because the teamwork is one of the biggest and most important values we have in our team, and because we have these pictures in here that are not so office and button up, we as a company try to, not really try, but we are more of a laid back. So we are not so serious about everything. We can sometimes make jokes. Sometimes they are funny, sometimes not. And also on the page itself, there's also this jokey thing. We have a team page where we have our agents and the whole team with their pictures and short descriptions, and we use the same pictures for the recruitment page. Now you can see a couple from people from support team. There's Jan, there's Piotr, and Kuba in here. And also on the left-hand side, developer team, on the right-hand side, marketing team. So when you enter our company website, you can also see that what our culture is, because we just now show it in there. So it's really important, if you do have a job recruitment page on your website, just to make sure it just goes along with the lines of what your company represents and what the company values are. So people who join your company have the same values, or at least they know what to expect, and not to be, all surprised. Just imagine our website, joining LiveChat, and we all, just going under the suits in the office and whatnot. So you just need to keep it together.
I think, Marcia, just to add to that, I think that it's important not to forget, obviously, that because someone's a chat agent, that they're actually the people who will be delivering your brand potentially more than anyone else. So whilst it may be seen as a certain level of job, not top management or whatever, actually these are the people that your customers are going to be engaging with, right? These are the people that are going to be giving your messages. These are going to be the people that are helpful or unhelpful. And that really is the most powerful thing that we're going to remember about the brand. So it's so important, as Martian says, that if you are company X, you're, fun, young, whatever, out there, zany company, that you don't hire people who speak like, they're presenting to the Queen or doing a presidential address, because it won't make sense.
Yeah.
And you'll do all this marketing that's like, way, and then you'll get on chat and they'll be like, hello, sir, how may, it's like, what? So you have to make sure that those things sync up. That is important, because they are how people are going to experience your brand more than just your messaging.
Yeah, and you mentioned the thing that the chat job itself does not appear like as the top management thing, and I do agree with that, because there has been, I think, for the last 10 years or so, perhaps, from my perspective here in Poland and basically worldwide, is that people tended to look down upon the chat jobs and call centers as something really inferior, right? But if you actually think about it, the industry we're in, the tendencies for the businesses, the chat agents are becoming specialists, both in marketing, public relations, and technical things, and all of this together. And plus multitasking, of course, right? So like people who are really heroes for being there, just fighting for your company in the first row, like soldiers in the war. Plus, the thing is, what you need to remember is that you're not fighting your customers; you're on the same front, right?
Okay. Fighting with your customers.
Yeah.
That's the message.
Okay. So about the managed approach.
Cool. So, so for some companies, you might want to look for a company like us to help you actually deliver your live chat program. That might be 24/7. That might be in the hours where you guys don't want to work. It might be any range of sort of hours and setup. Now, where can you find good, reputable managed service companies? Well, live chat do actually have a page. Marshall's going to show you that in a sec, which is the experts page, and that lists all the different providers that offer managed services on live chat, and is listed by rankings. So obviously you see we're up there as number 1, which is nice, so thanks everyone for that. But the other kind of other things, I guess, to think about really when it comes to managed services are a relatively new marketplace. We're one of, I guess, older companies, about 4.5 years old now, but since we've started, I mean, there's loads and loads more. I mean, Martian, you must see there's so many more companies offering managed live chat, things like this, which is great. But obviously you want to make sure that you're getting in with a company that's going to represent you well, as we said, because they're going to be you, as it were, so you have to make sure you trust them with your brand and your customer communications. One of the things to bear in mind is agent location. So a lot of these are offshore, which there's nothing wrong with, but it may be that you want people who are more local to you. We're in the UK and US, so because we serve that market, so we have people in that market. The other thing is reputation, so you might want to look at customer referrals, the kinds of customers they're working with, statistics and reports and so forth. And then the other thing to think about is complexity. If you just need someone to act like a virtual receptionist and answer 1 of 10 questions and take people's name and they'll call you back, which I wouldn't encourage, by the way, but if you need that, then that's pretty easy to do. Most companies can probably do that. If you need someone to do advanced sales techniques, help you get a real strong ROI, help you sell high value or complex products, if you're worried about your brand or if you need technical support, that's not going to be something that's everyone's bag. So you just need to get educated in terms of the market and have those conversations with different providers and get a feel for yourself in terms of what's out there and what's going to be right for you as a business. Yeah,
so this is the complexity thing is that you need to think about is for some cases it can be just really easier to hire an agent who's really skilled in this. So if your company needs someone for, I don't know, let's say law advising or perhaps, as Johnny said, advanced say selling techniques, it may just make more sense to hire the agent instead of training it from the bottom to the top. But the choice is on your side, of course. This is the experts marketplace Johnny mentioned before. You can also see in here that you can filter it for specific, things you need from the company. Because on the expert marketplace, you can not only find people who will lend the chat agents, but also who will optimize your websites, help you with CEO and whatnot. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so for this one, I think we are all done with this managed thing, right, Johnny? Or is there anything else you'd like to add in here? Okay, so who to recruit? Next chapter, and let's just talk about what we need to take into consideration.
Sure. So, I mean, and one of the key things, I guess, to say is, whilst chat's becoming obviously more and more common, which is great, it's less likely typically that you can always find someone who's done chat before. So I don't know, Martin, had you done chat before LiveChat, or was LiveChat your first chat build?
Yes and no. I did not do the chatting on the chatting software itself, but mailing / calling, I've been there before. So
okay, you've done some customer contact on different channels.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think that's quite common. I think it's quite common to find people who've done customer care, maybe in a face-to-face environment, maybe in a contact center type environment. But I would strongly suggest that actually one of the things we look for is character and raw skill set, because it's not necessarily something that there is huge amounts of established expertise in. It's not like you're trying to hire, for example, an enterprise sales executive for cloud infrastructure or something super specific where you want that backtrack experience so you can plant them in. Really what we look for is a set of skills, a set of base skills, and a set of experience that lends itself to being trained and developed to be a great agent. And I think it's actually a lot of the training and onboarding that will do that as well. So what we're really looking for is raw skills, good characteristics, and the ability to really engage. Chat is a unique channel because you don't have tone of voice, you don't have body language, which are the two real big indicators of how we communicate. If you've ever had a text from someone and you thought they were really mad at you, and then later on you had a chat with them and they were like, I wasn't mad at you, I was just running for a train and I just sent it really quickly or whatever. We naturally misinterpret text quite a lot. So one of the key things that we look for is, can they communicate effectively through text? Can they make me feel valued through text? And can they actually engage through text? And I'll talk a bit more about how we would define engagement specifically in a second.
Yeah, you mentioned this thing about the experience and where the agents have been before and whatnot. And also, there's one thing we need to take into consideration from the people who worked in customer service, let's say 10 years ago or so, is that there was not so much of a possibility to, let's call it, cheat. If you were upfront in the store talking to the customers, you had to know everything about the product straight on, because they are right there waiting on you, looking at you, and you can't just, just go like, okay, tell you what, I don't know that, but yes, $5, right? Because they will think that you're perhaps unskilled and whatnot. And because there's so much of an information growth and the things are getting more and more complicated, there's more information that you need to know as a chat agent, no matter what industry actually, maybe perhaps except for this receptionist approach you mentioned before. So you do not really need a person who will memorize absolutely everything, but instead you need to find people who can do good searching and who know their way around internal knowledge bases and perhaps some materials you can follow on to get the information to the customers. And canned responses also in LiveChat. They really do the trick for that, because I'm a support hero myself and I can't remember really everything about our product because there's just too much of it. I do remember most of it because I've been through it all over again, but sometimes I need to fall back on the technical documentation, whatnot, REST API page and whatnot. So we need to find people who are good in searching for things and delivering them fast. This is a different thing than memorizing everything, and different people will fall into this set. Okay, then next page then.
Sure. So I mean, talking about the base skills we mentioned earlier, we tend to look for some basic fundamental building blocks that we would consider must-haves before we look to someone further. So one is obviously typing speed. So we look for a very, very minimum of 65 words a minute. Chat needs to be fast, and in fact, all the LiveChat customer service reports that you may have read, if not because you check them out, show a really strong correlation between speed of response and customer satisfaction. So getting your response time down will increase your customer satisfaction, and part of the way you can do that is type fast. So we obviously look for that as a skill. Spelling and grammar just looks sloppy if you're not able to spell, or typing in slang and so forth is not a good look. The main thing, obviously, again, to stress more than anything is character. And then, Martin, to your point, I completely agree. Multitasking is key, not only in the fact that you have to have concurrent chats going at once, so you might be maintaining 3 conversations with 3 separate people, but you may also have to be going and referencing a knowledge base. You may have to be going and referencing the site. You may have to be going and getting a link to give to the customer so they can go to the page. So there is a lot of plates to keep spinning. It's actually quite a taxing role in that sense, because you do have to be on top of everything and fast. So lots of things to do and not much time to do them. So you have to make sure you're screening heavily for those things from the off, so you can have people that are ready to do that kind of requirement, as it were.
Yeah, you mentioned the spelling and grammar thing, and this is also a double-sided sword, I think, because you might have a company who has really laid back and perhaps even slangy approach to the customers. So you need to keep in mind that if you do hire people, you need to hire for the specific values that your company represents. I'm repeating myself from the couple of minutes ago, but if you want to contact customers who are used to official tone of voice, try to hire people who can keep the voice up. If you prefer more of an informal approach, and try to get people who will not be too stiff with the customers and can sometimes throw a joke or two on top of the regular conversation. And character thing, I think we've been over and over again, so no need to go through this again. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. So in terms of who to recruit, so one of the big things that we advocate is you're interviewing for a chat agent or a chat hero, or heroine, I should say. So we make sure that our interviews are chat-based. So our first 2 or 3 interviews will actually all be conducted via live chat. We don't bring in a phone or any sort of meetings until they pass at least those 3 stages on chat. And that's just a really, I think, commonly overlooked tip. I think people are so used to, I'm interviewing someone, I call them up, then I get them in the office, then we might do a meet and greet or something like this. The fastest way of understanding, can someone really engage, can someone really communicate themselves and get their point of view across with you on chat, is to ask them questions on chat. It sounds simple, but I think it's really often overlooked. The other thing is the candidate, or do you need the candidate to have an understanding or a predisposition towards something? So the kind of character that might be really interested in things to do with technical support may or may not be so interested in sales. So is your chat predominantly focused on supporting customers? Is it focused on selling to customers? Is it a mix of both? And if it is one, the other, or both, are you screening, are you looking for people who fit those molds? You can't have someone who's just wants to do support if there's a requirement to also sell. So you need to understand how you're going to use your chat and then recruit accordingly. Experience, sometimes you get some chat experience, sometimes you don't, but depending on where that experience has come from, it may not always be a good thing. Maybe they've got bad habits, maybe they've got techniques they picked up that, as Martin said, they were really slangy for one company and you want to be really formal, and they're dropping text-to-speak all over the shop. So you just want to make sure their experience is the right experience for you. And then also, crucially, what kind of training are you going to provide? Are you looking for someone to come and straight off the bat be ready to go, be ready to chat, be ready to deliver, and start serving technical support on whatever day one, as it were? Or are you of the view, I guess, more of LiveChat and us, that there's going to be a substantial onboarding process, there's going to be substantial training, and you're really going to be the one doing a lot of the legwork to take them from great candidate to great agent, if that makes sense?
Yeah, right. I think about this experience thing you mentioned, it's also not always a good thing. I can really think of people who were also working in companies who embraced different ideas of communication, not only different voice and formal, informal approach, but also perhaps phone conversations and personal conversations. And those are really different from the chat experience itself. So in some cases, it might be also a good thing to hire a fresh one just to get this like that. Also, yes?
I was just going to say, Martin, just a quick point on that was I think a big mistake that I see a lot is people taking people who are great at, say, selling on the phone and then putting them and going, you must be great at also selling on chat.
Yeah.
The skill set is completely different. Don't do it. Make sure they can actually do the other channel, just in the same way that, you might have a chat agent who's amazing at chat. A lot of our guys that work for us are real introverts. You speak to them on the phone and they're not that chatty, but you get them on behind a keyboard and oh my goodness, it's like they're the life and soul of the party. So you have to make sure you understand that person's character and that person's aptitude for different channels and not assume that one channel equals another.
You don't really have to look far if you just imagine your friends or acquaintances on Facebook and just the thing that people can really have a nice conversations with on the chat, but if you just meet them in person, gonna be just turned down and perhaps just a little bit distance. And the other way around, people who are really talky and chatty in person, but can't really get to the chat and they don't like this thing. So you need to take into consideration, and also about the recruitment process at LiveChat, because I can say a couple of words about that. We have a different approach as we hire everyone here in the office, so we do have a chance to meet them in person. And we start off with some mail/phone conversations, a really short one. Then there's this personal meeting, the talk, right? But this doesn't determine everything, because they need to come, they need to sit with us in the support team, and then we're just gonna assign a work buddy to them. So one of our experienced chat agents who will sit with them and they will try to guide them around. So we do give them some free maneuverability, I think, so they can just go around the chat. But there's agent keeping everything okay, so we do not really give the bad information to the customers. This will be a disaster. So we do just have hands-on if there's something is about to going wrong, but they do have a chance to just show themselves how they will approach it, and we just help them with that. And based on a couple of first days and weeks, we can just see if they're good for the team or really not the same story as us. Okay. And the interview process at the chat shop.
Yeah, so to get through this, typical process will look as follows. So we ask people to apply. They'll also have to answer 4 questions. We ask them to also submit a typing test and also their CV. So we'll kind of get all that together, review, do some sense checking, obviously see if they look like they might be a fit here. If they are, we'll schedule them in for a first round interview, and that interview is very kind of character based. So looking at how they answer basic questions. So we're not really looking to really quiz them heavily at that stage. We want to get a feel for who they are as a person and so on. We'll also ask them to have done some research beforehand, so understand what we do as a business. Basically make sure they've done some homework and haven't just shown up and applied for us plus 1,000 other jobs and they're just like boom, 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 boom. So we want to actually get in some detail. If successful, we then take them through to a second round interview. And that second round interview will actually have involved some homework. So we'll be giving them a fake customer to learn. So we'll have a knowledge base that we have set up. We have all the training materials set up. We have all the examinations set up. They will have to take themselves through that. And then we'll actually take them through some chats from that client where they'll live be trying to help us based on the information they've gone away and learned. And really what we're looking at here is, as Martian said, can they go away, learn information, resurface it, repurpose it into a chat conversation? Can they go and find the right bit of the knowledge base? Can they go and find the right bit of the next question and so forth? So we're testing for the actual skill before they've even got through the door. We'll then do a third round, which is normally on the phone. We then do reference checks, and then we onboard. So at the moment, we're running about, I think, a 1 to 3% acceptance rate. So not many people from the top make it to the end, because it is a difficult thing and the screening is rigorous. So this is just one example. Obviously, you do something that works for you, but I would personally really encourage you to get chat in the mix somewhere, see how they are in it. Martian's approach is cool, like actually getting them stuck in. But any way you can actually see them live trying to communicate on that channel is just invaluable, as you must have.
Yeah, this is what is, what goes together for both our approaches, is that we both check the chat skills as they go. So you do not really have an option to sit next to them if they are, you know, somewhere remote, but you can just check it in this way on perhaps the other, but you need to check how they work on the chat. And also while they're chatting, you know, in your company, remember that you can view the archives, you can use the supervision function to see how they go, so you can assess them as they go, but this is not about the recruitment itself. Okay, is this everything for the interview process, the chat shop? I think we are done on this slide, right?
Yep, all done.
Okay, great. Okay, so the pitfalls now, the traps you need to avoid in order not to get yourself mixed in bad situations. Okay, Johnny.
Sure. So we've covered this, haven't we, I think, already?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we covered a few here and there. So I mean, I'll just run through some of the ones that, you know, just reiterate some of them if they're important. Good at phone doesn't mean good at chat. Can't stress it enough. And also, if they are good at the phone, then often one of the things you might want to consider, especially if they're in a sales role, is keeping them on the phone, getting someone else to do the chats and passing the good person on the phone the lead. So just being smart with how you're resourcing things really helps you get the most out of the chat team and get the best out of your chat heroes. Interview techniques that screen for face-to-face based on chat. We talked about that a second ago. You know, don't get people in for a face-to-face interview and assessment day and get to write on a piece of paper and do things on the whiteboard to then put them you know, in front of a chat and wonder why they're not very good at it. Looking at base skill checks, spelling, typing speed, can they engage as a person, multitasking, we talked through that. And one key point that I kind of want to make here is that personable isn't the same in our view as engaging. So personable, you might be saying to someone, oh, that's really interesting, and then asking the next question. Engaging for us means we're actually drilling into the same point. So engaging for us would mean, that's really interesting, why do you think that? Rather than saying, that's really interesting, and what day do you want to travel on, for example. So we actually want to look for people who ask the second and the third question on the topic, rather than get the answer and just move on to the next question they're looking to answer. So we want people who really engage with people. So I think it's something as well you guys can maybe look out for in your process. That's one of the things that I think makes a real hero or heroine versus a mere agent or mortal.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add on top of that, because I think we missed it before, for these base skill checks, we've been talking about typing speed, but it's not so easy to check. We do have a typing speed tool you can get at our website to use it, and you know the results are all there. So it's also a good thing to check for the typing speed. So you don't have to, you know, think about how to do it because we got a tool ready for you for that. Okay, so those are the pitfalls, and now there's a moment for Q&A session. So there's a moment for you guys to ask all the questions that were not covered before. I will be here typing back to you and answering them, passing them in here. If you want to contact us after the webinar, here are our contact details. And also I will ask you, once the webinar is done, we'll send out a post-webinar survey, including the information and some feedback. It will really be helpful if you guys took a moment. Those are 3 questions. If you could just fill them out and basically tell us what you think. And also, please remember that after this part, we'll be announcing the next part of Heroes Assemble, part 2, how to onboard the heroes in the headquarters. So let's just take a moment and see what questions you've got in here. All right, there's this one question from Mark I'm seeing, and Mark asked if you should cover the regular working hours or should work 24/7. So how you should hire the chat agents, if I understand it correctly. So our approach at LiveChat is that we want to be available for the customers 24/7. You know, because you are using our software, and there's just can be any moment when someone in, let's say, Australia will need our help. We just need us here, so we are 24/7 available. But probably not all the companies, if you sell flowers, let's say, you do not really have to be available during the night, of course. So I believe that this should be a question you should ask your company as a whole. So whether you as a company need 24/7 service or not. And if yes, then it's really a good investment. And do not think about this as wasting the money on paying the poor people who are just gonna sit in there working night shifts, because it really pays off. And when customers can find you out of regular working hours while your competitors are already offline at the time, this can really pay off as well. So being available as long as you can really pays off. I hope this helps you, Mark.
Me as well, Martin, just to add on there, I think key things to help you look at that, Mark, would be your traffic profile. So go on your analytics, see how the profile moves through the day, and also what market you're looking to be in. So if you're looking to be in the UK, you may be able to get away with 8 a.m. till midnight, for example, depending on what your competitors are doing. As Martin said, 24/7 is always a selling point. People are going to love it if they come on at 3 in the morning and they've got a burning question, you're there to help them. But the question is obviously in terms of the investment versus the payback, right? So if your main 80-90% of your traffic is within a certain amount of hours, then you may want to use an outsourcer to cover the others, or you may want to look at just staffing, your core hours of the 80% of your traffic, because the payback on the others may not be enough, depending what market you're in, depending who your competitors are, and so on and so forth. 24/7 is always a great selling point if you can do it, and obviously companies like LiveChat is essential. But I think it kind of just depends on how big you are, where your market is, and whether you're going to see a return on that kind of investment.
Yeah, and as for the decision whether to hire more agents or not, you can use the goal system we provide to see whether people who touch base with chat have actually bought something on your website or they landed on some other page. So this should also be helpful in terms of seeing whether you should hire more agents or you should perhaps put some more effort into training the current ones, so just improve the effect. But this is also something we were gonna cover during the management of Heroes Assemble. This will be part 3 of the webinar, arriving around March, and this will also be announced by me in the time to come. Right now, I'm not seeing any other questions from the attendees, so I think that's it for today. Please take a moment, if you can, to fill out the form for us. This will help us in improving this webinar quality for you. And it was lovely to have both you, Johnny, and both you guys in here. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I will also keep this webinar for one more minute in case any other questions pop up, but there are some other questions about it. I will also send out the recording around 24 hours or so we can get them via the email and share them with the people from your company, especially if you know that there are some people who would really use this knowledge to put them to a good use. Okay. Right. No other questions so far. Then again, I'll be just signing off. Thank you and see you next time.